Hey everybody, it's Goody here. So obviously I do not have the required stuff right now to make some fine heavy accent videos. So I'm going to open this little playlist about games I've been playing lately. So I just finished Dark Souls 3, which is quite a good game actually, but there's still some really strange stuff I want to talk about. So like everyone, I basically started with Demon Soul. I imported it from the US because well, distribution in Europe is not very good, and usually we had to wait for like I don't know 2 or 3 years before like someone finally giving us a European release. And Demon's Soul at the time was, well, if you played it at the time, you know it was good. It was different, very hard. And the best thing was that actually no one knew what they were doing. I mean, you had to basically go on Reddit, 4chan, or GameFAQ or something, or even some wikis that just opened up at the time to find out what you were supposed to do. And like, there was this complicated system about white and black tendency where according to what you do, if you murder a certain NPC, if you get some special items, you might be able like to see some special NPC appearing out of nowhere. Usually black is bad, white is good, but not always, and you could get special items. It was so confusing. But more than that, what was really interesting is that at the time, I think there wasn't any game as challenging and with such a consistency regarding the universe, because you could try to find a whole story from the description of items, which was really new, and like otherwise, if you try to follow the story itself, which was fairly simple, I mean, just the Slayer of Demon trying to find the source of this fog covering the land, but if you wanted to get all the subtleties about that, you really had to find and look for every clue on every item. And obviously, from what I read, Miyazaki was really interested as a kid in mythology and, classic sword and sorcery, Dungeon and Dragon, and not understanding everything, obviously, because it was English. Well, just like for me, he had to like fill the blank and try to make his own story and try to apply that in Demon Soul and later in the Dark Souls series. So after that, well, like everyone, I played Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 1 was a blast. I thought it was really a well-made game in the fact that it was contained. So you had a story, a plot, like you could see every actor, you could meet all the actors of the story in the game, and with the DLC, everything was basically blocked. So that was really good. And apart from that, there was also the fact that you never felt like the game was unfair. Like you always had, like in Demon's Soul, obviously, but Demon's Soul was fairly new at the time. But I truly thought that with the addition of pyromancers and all the subtlety, the game actually allowed you to use any kind of template, any kind of build, and you could just mainly do your thing and finish the game. And depending on any build you use, there was always going to be some kind of boss or like place where you could get stuck. I mean, if you try to play Pyromancer, obviously you would get blocked with Quilak because she obviously used fucking fire all the time. And later on, the demon in Demon's Ruin, if you try to play a melee character, well, for example, some I guess that Thief would be very hard for you if you didn't if you weren't overpowered. And all that really made the game interesting and great for me. Even if, well, that's kind of nitpicking, but I really I prefer the music in Demon's Soul. I thought that the music in Demon's Soul was really, really fascinating. Apparently, the dude who made the music was more like a rock artist in Japan, was not very confidential, but just doing his own thing. And the I guess From Software asked him to do the music, and he did, and it was really all those little musical theme, very, you know, very small, not like going bombastic with chords and stuff like that. I really loved it. I thought it was creepy, unnerving, and really unique in a classic, Dungeon and Dragon, mythical, spooky, scary Western setting. While in Dark Soul, the fact that they use oh my god, I don't remember his name, but the guy who made the Baton Characters music, the Valkyrie Profile music, very well known dude, obviously, and they were all bombastic and like I can't really remember any theme except like the Firelink Shrine and obviously the final little piano for the fight with Gwyn at the end. But other than that, like for me, the musical themes of the boss are always the same. No, I also love the Ancient Dragon one because it's a special place where you get just you're in awe at looking at everyone like, oh shit, so this is where like the last dragon is. I'm like the root of the world. This is the base of Lodron. And that was awesome. So Dark Souls 2, like everyone else, I was really hyped. And I guess maybe I'm to blame too because everyone was so hyped for this game. Like I remember like going at my local Fnac, which is like the equivalent of Target in France, and like waiting for the game. I would just rush at the opening because I had I had a holiday, so I was like, oh, I'm going to play the game all fucking day, and I did. And when you start, past Majula was great, magnificent. I really loved it as a hub. But when you start going to the Forest of Giants, you're like, really? This is the game? Like, this is some kind of shitty open forest, and then you have to climb on this wall, and it's like, okay, well, here is a giant. And I guess the pursuer was really fun. But apart from that, the beginning is really underwhelming. Still, I felt like the level design wasn't as bad as I expected because, as usual, there were many traps, obviously, many secret passages. You could go back easily from one way to the other. So that was fun. And actually, the Covenants were really great. In Dark Souls 1, the Covenants were kind of messy. Like, they were really good with the setting. Obviously, they were really like carved into the setting, and you could see, okay, those are the daughters of the Chaos. They are the daughters of Ithalith, and that was awesome. But I mean, it was so confusing again. Like, you didn't really know how to do. It has very specific trigger to use. Well, in Dark Souls 2, I thought like, okay, maybe they cut some slack, on the whole lore thing, but they really made it fun to play. Like, I could spend hours playing, like, in the forest section, which is like the undead repose or like the undead haven or whatever, like where we fight the skeletons, and there's like the colossi with the guy on the Ben-Your the thing running, and you have to go on the little holes and pull the lever in order like to actually crush the guy, and then you realize that the horse is the real bad guy, and you need to fuck his shit up, and that was really fun. So you had like a lot of PvP there, and all those little factions that they added. This was really fun, and they're actually like even the Covenant, like the Rat Bros, were really fun because you really felt like you were defending the zone, and there was like all kind of stupid traps and lots of monsters. It was really a fun experience, but still the game, I don't know. Apparently, I've read somewhere that for me, like, I felt like there were too many bosses, too many humanoid, too many big guys, too many small guys. Sometimes group bosses, and some lame ones, like the kind of like the conjurers. I was like, what the fuck? Like you just have like 12 undead and like some kind of necromancer. Wow, so spooky, and you can just murder everyone there. Like, they are even worse than Pinwheel. I mean, but apparently, I've read somewhere that if you take the base game, there are more bosses in Bloodborne than in Dark Souls 2, like vanilla Dark Souls 2. So I don't know if maybe they took into account the bloody chalice, whatever, the random dungeons. But yeah, I feel like when I played it, I was like, okay, so this is actually this is Ornstein 2.0. Okay. This is Dragon Rider. This is Dragon Rider with his buddy. This is another guy in armor, another guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's quite a lot. Still, there was some really funny, like, really difficult bosses in the middle of the first the Lost Sinner was really fun, and the fact that maybe if they I guess they cut that a little bit from the trailer because well the final graphics were not as good as the trailers, but the whole use of like lightning, using your touch to like lighten up the boss area was really cool. And like the pattern of the boss was really hard, and you really had to work on your melee attack, on your mini build to be really aware about what she was going to do. And some stuff like I guess I really also like the Rune Sentinel was horrible, like really strong. But some of the boss I remember were really cool. Ah, maybe I'm thinking of the DLC. Like the Fume Knight was awesome. The Smelter Demon was really fucking tough. And well, yeah, I guess the real annoyance of Dark Souls 2 is the end game for me, because you finally reach like the kind of, you go under the castle, like you fight a mirror, the knight with the mirror shield, and it's like, wow, it's really awesome. And then you go down to the Shrine of Almana, and like it's just fucking sniper town all over, and you're like, okay, I just need to dodge like fucking sorcerer and 3 kilometers long. And then you get like this corrosive mushroom, and this goes and on and on and on. But at least the Demon of Song was fun. So yeah, maybe Dark Souls 2 for me was too long, basically. And when you arrive finally against like the final boss, which is like the queen, the necromancer, like she looks like a skeleton. She's like half part of, she's the remnant of Manus or something like that. And it's like, okay, another boss with a shitty scythe. And like the only reason she's difficult is because she's just popping all these fucking dark, those dark wards that just drain you all the fucking time. It was really annoying. The DLC, so well, Dark Souls 2 stopped playing, and then Skull of the First Thing came out, and the first time I was like, oh no, I'm never going to buy that. Fuck you, I don't want to buy like an extension for like $20 euros or something just because you finally fixed the fucking 60 hertz, 60 FPS. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking like a European, 50 and 60 hertz. But actually, I bought it on a Steam sale, and it was pretty fun. Like I like how it was kind of like the Master Quest in Zelda. Basically, they rearranged all the enemies, and I never done the DLC before, so that was really fun. Really hard. Like the Ivory Knight one is really tough. Like the boss at was it the Ivory one? Like the one in the snow where you arrive in some kind of castle, which is like constantly harassed by some snowstorm, and at the end you're like, oh yeah, finally I beat like this giant cold tiger, and I'm going to, it's done. And the girl in the shrine is like, no, oh, you need to go fight in the old chaos, my master or something. But before you do that, you need to get like all these knights. And so obviously she stopped the storm, and you need to go back all the way in the DLC, which was cool at the first, but you need to find all those like knights to make the final battle easier. And you need to like fight some Sonic Hedgehog style enemy, which are like so fucking hard. But yeah, Dark Souls 2, I guess, just gets caught out of the first scene. Even if like story-wise it wasn't really good. Like the game itself is fun. Like it's not as good as Dark Souls 1, but still it's a good experience. So Dark Souls 3, finally, after 10 minutes of me rambling all around. So obviously Dark Souls 3, I thought it was going to end the story actually. Like basically give me, okay, this is the end. And I know it's a cycle, and I know it's supposed to be like very open-ended, but it was really, I thought like the game was really schizophrenic in tone. Because on one end you have this very dark, like okay, Dark Souls is always dark, obviously. But here it was, okay, this is the final cycle, because now you're not even a hollow. You're like unkindled ash. So you're like a hollow that failed, died, and was like resurrected by the bells, obviously, because because the first, I guess the first flame is so desperate to find someone like to do the job and just like kindle the fire again, that is just raising all those random dudes who are like worse and worse. Like they're just like dust on your carpet. I mean, they're terrible. And you're like, okay, by the way, guy, now you need to find the dude who might have lit in the fire. They did, but now they're also awake, and they're just like going crazy, batshit crazy. So you're worse than nothing, and you need to do that. And you can feel that everywhere, since like all the kingdoms and the dimension are just like stuck together. It's like reality itself is just collapsing. So it's really the darkest timeline, and you know you don't have time. So obviously I was thinking, okay, there is going to be this big finale, and then the end. Boom, that's it. Up, and then Miyazaki is done with Dark Soul, and they just move on to something else. And the ending kind of does that. They do that, but not really, because you can. So after a fight, so finally you fight like the spirit, I guess, of all the guys who lit in the fire. So on one hand, it's really funny because you fight this final boss who is very like, who basically has all these phases where he just reproduce various build that you could have. So it's a good way like for From to say, okay, this is, by the way, this is like all the undead that lit in the flame before. So it might be your character or every character. But I don't know, I didn't like the design of the guy itself. Anyway, so, but it was really cool fight, fun fight, and like obviously, yeah, when the theme of Gwyn started playing, you go all emotional, and it was really well done and executed. But after that, it's like, oh, now you get the choice between 3 or 4 endings, so you can just lit the fire, and then it's like, oh, yeah, you lit the fire, but only like it's going to go for like 6 minutes or something, because you can even see like the first time you lit the fire in Dark Souls 1, it's like, okay, just go like an explosion. So you're like, whoa, that was really powerful, because it was actually the second time the fire was kindled. But in Dark Souls 3, it takes some time. Like you clearly see during the cutscene that the guy is like, the unkilled ash is just like slowly burning, and like all his souls are just used as fuel for the first flame, but it's so slow and he's so desperate, and you can imagine your guy behind his helmet being like, well, that was really worth it. But other than that, you have, so obviously you're like, okay, this is the end of the cycle, right? It should be something, but then you say, okay, I'm going to go full dark, right? I'm going to like embrace the Dark Soul and like just turn off the fucking thing, and then we'll be done with it. So you have to go through a special zone, like a hidden zone, which is actually a copy of the Firelink Shrine, but all in dark. And supposedly it's in the past, because one of the NPC that you meet in the shrine, like the shrine merchant, I think, or like the shrine helper, whatever, who looks like exactly like a firekeeper from Dark Souls 2, says, oh, if you never talked to her before in the game and you go there in this special zone, like hidden zone, and say, oh, I never met you, and well met. So you can buy stuff there, like I guess the set of what was the fuck was it? Artorias. And if you go back in the normal Firelink Shrine after that, she's like, oh, but I know you, I've seen you before in the past. So obviously, so this dark area is supposed to be like, I thought, the beginning I thought, okay, maybe this is an illusion, maybe this is the real world, I don't know, but obviously it's in the past, so maybe before like the bosses of the game, shit, I don't remember the name, but like the special term are linking the fire, so everything was turned off, like waiting for those guys to arrive and like, you know, start the whole Dark Souls thing, like, hey, link the fire and stuff. And in this area, actually, you find some eyes. Behind a hidden wall, there is like eyes of the dead. There is like a dead firekeeper lying around, and she has eyes on her. And you can just pick up her eyes. And apparently it's like, if you read the description, it's like, oh my god, this is really bad. With those eyes, you can see like vision of betrayal. And when you come back, you can actually give the eyes to the actual firekeeper. And she's like, do you really want me to use those eyes? Because if you do, I'll see vision of betrayal, and it's going to be very, very dark. So basically, I'll just turn off she will snuff out the first fire, which is like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll go for the dark ending. Like every people is like, there is also this funny dude, the guy who make you like weapon from Boss Soul, who obviously was kind of a dick during his time, because if you kill him, he has a ring saying like, oh, this is the ring of the soul beast devourer or something, and like, this is really bad. And you know, since the guy can also like forge fucking weapon from souls, I guess he has some kind of dirty secrets, so maybe in the DLC. But the guy basically said, if you show him the eyes, it's like, oh, you know, do what you want, but those eyes are like, they were like the firekeeper gouged out her own eyes for a reason, and maybe it will be very dark, but you know, me, I'd rather link the fire. So if you go with that, the music gets all, you know, very sad and gloomy when you're in Firelink Shrine. And at the end, after fighting the boss, you can either link the fire on the like, but there will also be the summon sign for the firekeeper to appear. And obviously, it's going to be so. If you do that, she just arrive and say, "Okay, we're going to turn down the light now." She does, and after that, just the world will go dark. But there, it's like, oh, by the way, there will. I can see that in the future. During the ending, she basically say, "Oh, but I can see that there are teeny shapes far away, and they will come back, and I can see it's the echoes of the boss from like the gods from before." So it's like, okay, anyway, even if I turn down the fire, like I turn down the fire, there's going to be something like the cycle is going to return again and again and again and again. So you're like, yeah, what's the point? I mean. And then there is also the secret ending, which is very hard to get. Well, you just need to go follow some quest with you're unkilled Ash, but you're not really hollow. So you need to find a pilgrim who's going to turn you hollow by giving you like free experience points. But on the other side, is going to just give you a dark sign. And then there's this whole quest to become like the king of Londor, who is like this very far away and corrupted kingdom, controlled obviously by the snake guy, Fremt, I think, Kant. Well, one of the one who's working with the Dark Wraith, obviously, from Dark Souls 1, and they're like, oh, this is a nice kingdom of undead. Hey, you could become our king. Why not? You just need to find yourself a little wife. You kill her, turn her undead, and then we're all good to go. So you can do that, which is like a very long quest and kind of obscure again. And at the end, after a long process and some kind of wedding ceremony, you can actually summon them at the end. So they just stab, they arrive, stab the firekeeper. Was it? No, I don't remember. But basically the idea is like they arrive. No, the firekeeper isn't there, but basically you summon them instead of the firekeeper. They arrive and you're like, actually you grab the flame, so you usurp the flame, and that's about it. And then, yeah, everyone is, woo, you're the new king of the undead. So I guess this could be seen as an ending, but I don't know. I feel like it's more like, hey, DLC, man. Just wait for the DLC. We're going to have some explanations. So, yeah, I don't know. And the only really ending I really like, which strangely enough, is not tolerated as an ending, because you don't get any platinum achievement for it, which is basically you can. So you go through the whole thing of like turning down lightning off, making the fire die. So you summon the fire keeper, and then you have a few seconds before the world goes dark, and you can actually use like R1 just to try to hit her. And if you do, basically your character just straight murder the firekeeper, just crush her skull and take the fire. And like the ending is just like, oh, you're pathetic. You are like it's the words from the prologue, which are like, yeah, and you're unworthy of being a hollow. You're unworthy of kindling a fire, and you're like ash sticketh ember. So basically, you just use your greed to feel again like you just took the fire because you had to feel your own greed, your own desperate need for ember. And I thought it was really dark and poetic, and maybe the only way. To me, it's like the true ending, because it makes so much sense and it's so dark and grim. And obviously, the big thing with Dark Souls 3 is like, to me, those ending, apart from this one, which is basically more like a bad ending, I guess, it's like the cycle continue, okay, but during the whole game, you've been giving me all sorts of clues regarding the fact that yes, this is the sequel to Dark Souls 1, and well, some reference to Dark Souls 2, so at least you're thinking it's canon. But other than that, like, there are tons of them, tons of reference, tons of to Dark Souls 1, but even Demon Soul, because obviously the ending where you're just crushing the skull and walking on the Firekeeper is a direct reference to the bad ending of Demon Souls. Like there is a level looks like exactly like the Tower of Latria. There's all the stuff, so I guess it's more like a best of the Soul series. There is even some reference to Bloodborne, because like the blob guy Aldrich is actually worshipping the deep sea, and you can clearly see that the sign of his covenant is exactly the same as the rune deep sea in Bloodborne. So yeah, I guess by some extent it's the best of, and it's a very good best of. because I had fun. The boss were great. I was never disappointed by any boss, I think. The level design is also awesome. Most of even the swamp level wasn't as bad as I expected. Obviously, finally, you got like tons of set, which are really funny. Great weapon. It's a lot of fun. The only really big problem gameplay-wise is the poise. Basically, the poise. The fact that if you have 1 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. It will be the same. So if you're used to like me, just getting the biggest and the heaviest armor just to keep on and not being destroyed, like. For example, if you have like Havel set during the 4 Kings in Dark Souls 1, you're just going to murder town. Like you can just destroy them. But here it's like, okay, so I went with pretty heavy armor. I think I had like the Green's Knight set, like the classic, from the cover of Dark Souls strategy guide, those dudes, which was really heavy. And I was just getting slapped around by every boss. I was like, woo, just thrown away all the time. And it got boring really fast. But I didn't understand because I haven't read anything about this. I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's normal. Those bosses, they're really hard. It's normal. I suck at this game. And also, yeah, I use mostly heavy two-hand weapon like large club and large hacks. And it was really hard sometimes. Like when you fight Pontius Sullivan, for example, all the dudes who are pretty fast. If you don't have a fast weapon, you're just going to really suffer. And you have to learn their set by like their attacks by heart. And I really struggle sometimes, but it was always fun. And yeah, it never shocked me like as unfair. Like some in Dark Souls 2, sometimes I was like, whoa, this is really unfair. Like, oh, the Ring Sentinels, that's really bad. But here, no, I didn't really understand it. Didn't really have this problem. Apart from that, well, maybe the final part is a bit weaker. Like after you fight the dancer and you can reach the castle itself of Lothric, I felt like they just give up on some extent, taking some basic enemy and giving him like shit ton of health, like shit ton of HP and much stronger attack. And I was like, yeah, really? Like in the final. Like the final part when you're trying to reach the 2 princes, and there's like this huge stair with all those dudes behind planks, and you're like, okay, wow, that's a nice reference to Demon's Soul 1-1. But apart from that, I was like, yeah, really, all those guys again. So yeah, Dark Souls 3 is a really good game. It's a really good conclusion to the Dark Souls series. I wish the story did a bit more about that. Like, I know that confusion, obviously reading the item description, and obviously lots of speculation is part of the daily Dark Souls thing. But I feel like we could have gotten some more conclusion. So I guess it will be in the 2 DLC which are coming out in the coming month. But, some closure would have been nice. Anyway, in my book, I bought it. Played it for 50 hours. It's good. It's fun. If you like Dark Souls, if you like the Soul series, just buy it. If you don't like the Soul series, obviously you're not going to fall in love with this one. You'd rather you might want to try Bloodborne for that, because yeah, that's the other. Now thinking about it, I guess that's the only real problem. Not gameplay wise, but in general, Dark Souls 3 is good. It's the best of the Dark Souls series, but it's not as fresh or innovative or even beautiful as Bloodborne, which was really unique in its genre. And well, if you had to play just one of the Soul series, just try Bloodborne in my own. Well, you have to get the PS4, but then again, it's the only good game on PS4. Like, well, unique good game in my opinion, worth buying a PS4. So there is that. But anyway, Dark Souls 3, lots of fun. Yay!